Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits podcast. Since we last podcasted, Garrett is now a married man. Nike was
Big
gated.
change.
Nike is now ungated for new, or Nike now lets you apply for ungating with new sellers. And as well as we're going to talk about some good back to school, 4th of July, Prime Day prep as well in this episode and such too. But since we talked about in the past, some weird stuff's gone on the past 6 weeks and such. But as of a couple days ago, for all our new sellers listening, you guys now are able to apply for Nike ungating once again. So Chris, what have you seen with that so far?
So it's interesting, okay, because and it makes zero sense. I have been ungated in Nike for years, and about 3 weeks ago, I got regated in Nike. And so I waited 2 weeks just to say maybe it goes away, maybe I get re-ungated, but it hasn't. So yesterday I sent in an order so that I can get ungated yet again in Nike. But it seems like there's two classes of sellers. So for me, it's asking for the regular stuff. It's asking for invoices. But what I found was interesting is it says invoices or receipts in the ungating thing. Specifically.
Oh, wow.
Some of the people,
Okay.
some of the haters mad right now, man. Some of the Amazon forum people mad right now.
So it specifically said invoices or receipts, and it did not want 365 days. It wanted 180 days. That didn't really seem new. And all I've got to do is tick all the boxes, and then there's a video to watch, to make sure you're selling authentic items. So I'm going to go through that whole process once the items actually come in and I have them in hand. I've got, my shipping confirmation, my order confirmation, my delivery confirmation. I could take a picture of the item in hand. But for other people, that doesn't seem to be the case. For other people, they're looking to get ungated and they're saying, okay, we want your invoices or receipts. But then after you do that, we want to hop on a verification call with you. We want to make sure you're a real person. You're not, going out and buying these things off the street or stealing them from stores. And we just want to make sure that you are legit. So it's two different classes of what they're doing. It's very, very interesting. I've never seen anything like it, but you can apply to get ungated now, which is the big positive.
So what did you mean by 180 days or 100 days or whatever you said? Is it sort of like a brand review sort of situation?
It seems like that. It's specifically ungating. I don't have any brand reviews or anything like that. But they said that my receipts or invoices can be up to 180 days old.
I missed that part. I missed that part.
I missed that part too. I totally missed that part as well. By the way, while that was going on, a lot of brand reviews are happening too. If you get the CSM brand review, it's completely normal. Hit my DMs on the gram or Twitter and I'll help you fix it. I've beaten it many a time and such. It's a natural part of the game, but just kind of to review the whole situation, right? So early April, Adidas gates everyone, right? Most people. And then Disney does the same thing 2 weeks later. Hoka, Nike do the same thing like the next day. But the key was that Nike and Hoka were only for people that weren't yet ungated in it. It wouldn't let people apply. Basically, so if you've been able to sell Nike, you've been able to sell Nike the whole time. It was just new sellers who got screwed in that one situation. We saw Adidas roll everything back. We saw Disney do the same thing. Uncle Flips called the shot early April. We're going to be all right. And it looks like we're all right in terms of new sellers and stuff. The big differentiating factor, and this is actually a really, really good thing for the overall market, is the verification calls, I would assume. Just because Nike is probably the most counterfeited brand. And if you start in like the last year, you aren't used to the era where everyone did a verification call. They kind of quietly stopped doing that, I think, as well. Van, you guys seen the same thing?
On new sellers, I haven't seen that happening much.
It was quietly. I think they just stopped doing it basically. Like I think.
Well, so I didn't have to do it in the beginning, like three and a half years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it is. I didn't have that verification call, and then it looks like a year and a half in, they started doing it, and now it looks like they've done away with it again.
Yeah, which is I don't know. I don't really have too strong an opinion. I don't think that really happens at all and such. But it's funny how like some people are like really nervous about the verification calls. Like when it literally just says in the email, it's like, all right, just bring your documentation and you'll be fine and such. And the big thing is that that's a really good thing for people who sell Nike, because a lot of listings are have a lot of like Chinese sellers on it and Turkish sellers on it that are presumably most likely selling fakes and stuff. So overall, I'd say a bullish move for the arbitrage space in general. It was obviously annoying if you were a new seller the past 45 days trying to sell that stuff, but now you're good to go to submit that documentation and such.
I mean, it's a net positive though, because like you're going to need a callus to sell on Amazon, right? You're going to need the persistence to start to work through some of the things, the headaches that are going to come up, right? The brand reviews, the unsellable returns, the lost shipments. There's a lot of things that are kind of come up, and this is just par for the course in terms of like being an Amazon seller, working in their sandbox, having to deal with all the things that it comes with. But the exchange is pretty powerful, right? We have access to the biggest network of consumers, of buyers in the entire world, right? So
Mhm.
it's an early callus. It's good for you. It's healthy, and hopefully, right, the newer sellers have started to not be so reliant on the Nikes of the world, right? To maybe use that skill that they developed to start to source maybe some office products or some tools or sports and outdoors or whatever brand, right? Because it's again, the skill is cross-functional. It's dynamic. It works across the board. Manual sourcing, reverse sourcing, however you find products works Nike, but it works just as well with any other type of product. And I think the people that attacked the Nike gate the right way have learned that over the past couple months.
Yeah, like there's a couple of my young stallions probably listened to this too. Like they were, they joined my coaching program like early May or something. So they've learned the hard way. They've been pumping Adidas,
Yes.
Under Armour type stuff, and now they do get, access to some of these bigger brands, and it makes
But that
it
was how we learned, right?
such
Because when
change.
we started selling, we couldn't sell Nike. So the
Oh,
the
brutal, man.
beginnings
Yeah.
of our businesses, right, were built on sourcing the hard way, sourcing things that aren't
Auto and
immediately
means.
profitable, immediately selling thousands of times, right? So and we turned out just fine.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway from the main situation is like in general what we've seen so far. If Amazon's gonna shut something down, they let you know very clearly.
Seems
What
that
was
way.
it? It was
That's a good
Coach
point.
about a year ago where they sent the email. Estee Lauder they sent the email and such, and then which is I'd say, glad that they're acknowledging arbitrage sellers, saying receipts and stuff like that. So it's good for the space overall, I would say.
I would agree.
Yeah, in terms of avoiding fakes and such. Anything else? I don't think any other brands hit in terms of like having issues like that since. I don't think so.
I don't know if this is widespread. I personally am having issues with Jordan, the Jordan brand. Not a huge deal, just not nearly as many SKUs or ASINs as Nike. But for me right now, Jordan is locked down. I cannot apply for it. My guess is that once Nike gets all figured out, they probably do it with the Jordan brand as well. I haven't checked Converse or anything
It's
like
the same
that,
way.
but I
Yeah,
bet you it'll be the same thing there.
yeah. So
But
it's currently the same way with those adjacent brands. And the weird thing was Adidas. They didn't do Adidas Originals. They only did Adidas. That's how I knew it was weird back then.
Yeah, what was interesting too is as I was going through ASINs the other day to find out what I was going to get ungated with, I am gated in Nike, but Nike Golf I got auto ungated in immediately, and there's like one other like does Nike 3 brand or something. It's a very small sub brand of Nike that I also needed to get ungated in.
Isn't
It's
there like a
annoying.
$ Nike brand too?
That's what I'm gated in. Everything for me shows up as the $ Nike.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's weird. Anyone who's unfamiliar with that is if you're looking on SellerAmp, you can see the exact brand name of products listed under. So it's funny how like some Jordan stuff is listed under Nike and such. Jordan ones, they have the swoosh, but they're technically Jordans. There's some gray area there and such. Just trust what SellerAmp's saying in regards to the specific brand here. And then definitely since we've last podcast as well, I feel like the switch has kind of flipped in terms of online arbitrage really, sales season kicking off, and it was like early May. Mother's Day sales kicked off significantly earlier than I expected. Then Memorial Day sales kicked off earlier than I expected. That was a good sales cycle. And as we speak, Father's Day sales are kicking off as well. So how do you see attacking this next, couple months here, online arbitrage sourcing specifically, Chris? I feel like getting into the easier part of the year.
We are coming into some of the easier parts of the year. And now a lot of people would say, oh, well, we've got the summer slowdown coming up. And sure, maybe we see the sales volume go down a little bit, but we're going to have a kick in the pants here pretty soon because we've got Prime Day coming up. So there's going to be two ways to take advantage of that. One is you're going to sell through at a higher velocity over that couple of days, just because there is a higher number of people on the Amazon platform shopping, and you don't have to run sales if you're doing an arbitrage. You can just they're just going to buy things because they're there.
Jack them up, man.
But
Raise those prices.
exactly. But the other thing is you're going to be able to take advantage of not only Father's Day sales, which you're right, are already kicking off. And I'm a dad. I don't even know what day Father's Day is, but they're already starting, and you'll be able to take advantage of those. You're going to have Prime Day sales coming from other retailers, all the big ones, Target, Kohl's, etc. You're going to have Independence Day sales that are come up, and we're right at the time where it's time to start getting ready for back to school, which is going to be easy money in a lot of cases. Because of the volume, and people start buying earlier and earlier every year. And my kids go back to school. Well, my kid, one of them graduates. So the younger one, he goes back to school in the middle of August, which means around the middle of July, we'll start buying back to school stuff. And I know parents who are already buying back to school items.
So obviously, I mean, this is probably pretty obvious, but as a dad, what sorts of things have you historically bought over the past couple of years? Obviously backpacks, right? Probably some
Absolutely.
calculators, some clothes.
So yeah, there's backpacks every single year because for some reason at the end of the year, like milk gets spilled in it and smells disgusting. So there's always a new backpack. There's, always a calculator.
A new backpack, a fresh new backpack. You got to.
Yeah, my kid tells me I'm not supposed to say this, but he's got to go to school looking drippy, is what he tells me, so we need a new backpack, we need new clothes, we need new kicks, new socks to make sure that they match the fit, and then of course we need the pencils, the Kleenex, the backpack, a couple of hats, whatever else comes on that list, paper, notepads, all of that stuff. And one of the things that I think a lot of people overlook is they're like, oh, well, I can't just sell the paper. I can't buy 500 sheets of paper and sell it. But if you look a little bit deeper, you might find people who have taken things like a paper and a pack of pencils and a pack of Crayola markers and put them together with nothing else extra and sell that as a bundle. So it's important to look in some of those places too.
Yeah.
Now, are we sending them off in OA Challenge branded apparel or no?
Yeah. Get the Vibe Box Bandit shirt too.
I'll tell you what, my kids actually do wear swag from Amazon softwares and stuff. So they've got Aura shirts, they've got OA Challenge shirts. If Seller Amp wants to send some shirts for the kids, I'll make sure they're going back to school with them.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, there's a bunch of important dates specifically coming up. Like Chris mentioned, Father's Day sales already starting. So I think it's like June 17th or whatever in a couple probably the 16th or so. Whatever date that is. But the key is that those deals are already going on. So your favorite retailers, if they haven't already announced it, they're going to announce it soon what deal they have going on. Then 2 weeks later, 4th of July sales, that's a pretty similar one to like a Memorial Day, for example. Those are great. And then I don't think they announced the July Prime Day dates, but it's typically like the 11th and 12th, right around there. Chris mentioned, raising prices, good sales volume those days. The big thing is definitely going to be the sourcing is really, really good because every retailer is running a competitor deal basically. And then by that point, mid-July, we're already into, the range of back to school. Back to school peaks between August 5th and August 20th, from my experience. In general, it'll slow down in early September. Too, and then also definitely look into your sales tax holidays as well. If you have one in your specific state, I believe Florida is like 2 weeks long. So, which is pretty neat. Yeah, so it's like good opportunity to get some, cheap inventory or inventory cheaper than you normally would. And such. A big thing, understanding, I've been getting questions from a lot of beginners, is when do you actually buy stuff for back to school? In my opinion, I'm not a huge fan of buying and holding on limited capital, limited experience. You want to buy stuff when the market tells you to and such, right? So like each specific Keep a chart is going to become good at a certain point if it's going to be good. And you need to know of that. How do you do that? Keepa tracking alerts and the Seller Amp Google Sheets feature too. Chris, I know you're a dog with the Keepa stuff in that regard. Do you want to break down how Keepa tracking alerts work?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things you can do with keep a tracking is, let's just say that I don't know, let's say you want to buy something now. You want to buy, let's say you find a killer deal on, say, Nike backpacks, whether you're at TJ Maxx or Ross or whatever it is, and they get something in early. If you want to go and look at that particular product on Amazon, maybe it's profitable now, maybe it's fairly break even. But if you look out over the past year, you see come August 1st, that thing jumps up 20 bucks, 25 bucks, whatever it is. You go in there and you go to the tracking section, and a lot of people think that it's just for Amazon flips where I'm tracking downward. But if you've got the pro level of Keepa, you can track the other way too. So you can hit that target price point, get an alert, and okay, I'm going to list this FBM as soon as it hits this price point. And you can do that across up to 5,000 ASINs. So one of the other things you can do is, let's say you are limited on capital, you could go out and you can source products online or in store. If you know that they're going to be there, set alerts for when the price goes up, and then go buy those the minute the price starts to raise back up, rather than tying up capital in something that you're not 100% sure about.
Ooh,
And the real dogs will have it listed
low key,
while it's in the
low key.
store.
Yes.
So when it sells, you go snag it. But I think the real key is, right, the real common denominator across all this is just really the speed, doubling down on the speed. Right? There's so many ways to get creative with trying to optimize on that efficiency. Right? Maybe it's having those curbsides, be ready for those curbside pickups. Maybe it's buying a product, have it listed across 7 different listings, FBM. So you're so much diverse, so much your risk is so much spread out across all those listings, right? It's the 0 day handling time. It's not being too much leveraged in terms of having to wait the 2, 3, 4 weeks for it to get checked into FBA, when we know the back to school markets are dynamic and volatile, when we know there's going to be 20, 30, 40 people potentially joining a market, and we don't want to wait for that to happen, right? So it's really being okay and optimizing on that speed in every single way possible.
Yeah, I wonder if you can bulk upload to keep a tracking alerts. Could theoretically one could just go
Not
to
yet.
Marshalls? Oh, you can't. Either way,
Not yet.
here's how you could do similar though. You go to Marshalls, you scan everything, Adidas, Nike, etc. There's probably going to be stuff that's good regardless. Either way, you one-click export everything to a SellerAmp spreadsheet from the SellerAmp app, and then go through and add those tracking alerts to the corresponding numbers. That would be a ridiculously good way to get low risk sales, because you don't even have to list the product, right? Because Keepa just hits you on either email or they got like a Telegram option too, which I thought was
There's a
kind of
Telegram
gangster as
option.
well.
Yep.
Yeah. I got the that's the only good thing that comes out of Telegram in regards to selling on and such, which is cool.
I was going to say, there's one other thing that I think a lot of people don't think about when it comes to back to school is we all automatically think like high school and elementary school, okay? Backpack, shoes, etc. One place to, and here's some numbers to back this up, okay? The average household spends around $890 for back to school spending for elementary and high school kids, okay?
Chris
For
means business when he's got the data pulled up.
Facts.
You
Oh,
could
we
see
had
the eyes.
same thing with last episode, man.
You
Yeah,
can
same
see
thing
the
with last
eyes spanning across the screen.
Yeah.
for people going back to college, the average household spend is $1,367. All right. They're buying this very similar things. Yeah, they're getting the pencils, they're getting the iPads, the computers, but the other thing that they're getting is they're getting hot plates, they're getting room decor, they're getting bed sheets, and all of those things that a lot of people would never think about for back to school. And that market is almost as big as the kids going back to elementary school. So you don't just have to focus on the backpacks, the pencils, and stuff like that. Look in some other areas where you start seeing some spend go higher for back to school.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, right, once we really start to get technical with Keepa, a lot of this kind of data, a lot of this product just find itself, right? If we start with all we need is one product that exhibits this sort of activity around back to school time. The really, really cool thing is, right, we can go back in all the years past and see the sellers that have sold that product given the same time parameters, right? So I have a specific calculator that I have seen has increased in price, dropped in sales rank, all that good stuff last August, September. I could also go back and see every single seller that was on that product. There could be hundreds, there could be 50, whatever. That's 50 data, 50 resources that I can now learn from as I approach the same season. 100 sellers that I can use as a resource as we approach the same season, right? Not all of those sellers will be still doing the same sorts of things, but some of them will. So maybe 5, 10, 15 of those sellers will start to do the same sort of sourcing as we approach August, September. That's free information. That's free information from a seller that's probably more experienced than you, probably smarter than you, but looking in the same places. And that's exponentially powerful.
Mhm.
Yeah, speaking of the back to college thing, man, I remember my first FBM season, like the big one, back to school 2020 was like my first time. I was printing FBM wealth heavily, and like realized I started to hit a lot of the US population. I was getting like a lot of like orders to colleges. I even had one order go to my college. The dude never ended up I was like hitting him up, asking him, and such. And then he never ended up hitting me back and such. I obviously shipped the order regardless. And everything.
Did
And
you
I
leave
got
him a
like
review?
sorry?
Did he leave you a review?
Nope. Nope. Never.
Oh,
Yeah. It's I know. It's a rare chance right there and such.
He's
But
not
yeah, and
gonna
then
make
I
it.
got exactly, bro. I got an order from someone I recognized too, as well, like someone a mutual friend and such. And you start printing the FBM wealth, and it becomes a little bit more real when you're seeing the locations of people places you're shipping to. And stuff. That was a crazy time. I like literally I got home from the first Miami conference. And I was like, damn, like that guy was just using the bathroom next to you. He's doing 100K a month. How am I not doing 100K a month? And then like, he literally just made it happen in like 2 weeks and such too. What are some mistakes we see lots of people make in regards to just back to school or just like hot opportunities in general?
Probably playing it too safe. And I'm a big fan of having a very low risk tolerance. I don't ever want to see anybody come in here and spend 10 grand on something and it backfire. All right. I mean, I haven't done 10 grand, but I've had $5,000 orders absolutely backfire and lose money on them, and it sucks. But there are times when the opportunity is too good and we don't pour enough gas on that fire. And yes, it does take a little bit of time and a little bit of effort to figure out when the time is and when it's not. But that's why you should be building a network so you can ask other people, hey, how much should I spend on this? Should I go super deep? Should I, ask my parents for that loan to be able to buy, 200 of these rather than 50? And I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes, is not knowing when to put your foot on that gas.
you said the network word, and I could see Miles's ears perk up. But I think second to that is sellers get too hypothetical, right? Too guesswork ish, right? And so what I mean by that is like this happens a lot with Lego in Q4, but you can apply the same principles to back to school, right? They've seen something happen the past year, and they're like, oh, this is definitely going to happen again. So they're buying in hopes that a certain market happens in the future, which again,
Mhm.
from the person that has years of experience, it may be beneficial, right? You may be able to make a lot of money, but if you're not buying off of a very like a approaching market, there's always going to be risk attached to that, and there's always lower hanging fruit with the seasonal stuff and sort of like buying the things as kind of Miles mentioned before, as the market suggests you should.
Yeah, like you don't want to like in regards to depth, like how deep to go on a specific item. I think literally the only time to go deep on a product is when you sold a shitload yesterday. Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it'll be very, very clear. It's the same thing in regards to like, okay, what site should I look to source on? You should only manual source on a site if you're really excited about it, right? You should only go heavy on a product if you're really excited about it, right? And that's due to past results. So I source really well on Vitacost. So if there's anywhere I should do manual sourcing, it's probably Vitacost, right? But you let
But
the
that's
data
why
tell you
FBM
that.
is so important, though,
Yeah.
is because I mean, you hit it on the head, right? You buy based off of quote unquote yesterday's results or the day before's results. The person that's FBAing is their feedback loop is 3-4 weeks behind, and for a newer seller, that's do or die, right?
Yeah.
Especially with these sort of dynamic markets, when you're buying that quickly, you sell 20 calculators, well, you're back at the store the next day buying 30, buying 40, buying 50, and you're still continuing to get your hands on those sales.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the way that compounds too, having good purchase data from that calculator, you now know people to storefront stock off of as well and
Bingo.
such. And it's the same thing like Garrett was mentioning earlier with the data buy box statistics on Keepa. You can see who sold a product last year, what price they sold it at. If it's a crayon listing that went up in price last year or a backpack, you can go on data, buy box statistics, go to the 365-day, filter top to bottom by price, open up the storefronts of other sellers, plug them in on SellerAmp, see what else they got. Because those are smart people that took advantage of that at the maximum price and such too, in regards to that as well. Okay, all right. So for some folks who listen to this who are newer sellers as well, let's break down as we finish up here some of the important OA sourcing tactics in regards to getting products cheaper and such, right? Because Father's Day, big holiday sales come up. What are some of those other ways you can go ahead and boost in your profit margins?
My opinion is, and I was talking to somebody about this, they're like, I can't find anything profitable, and they're using some software. I was like, that's fine. I said, but here's the big problem. You're not looking any farther. Okay. You're finding a match. That's great. But, and maybe there's a sale, but there's probably a better discount code. Are you Googling, for better discount codes? Are you using all of the extensions that are available to check all of the different codes that might be out there? Are you reaching out to chat and saying, hey, do you guys have any discount codes that you can give to people who are looking to buy? Or do you offer discounts for bulk purchases? These are all different ways that you can try to lower your cost of goods that most people are not doing, because honestly, most people are lazy. Make sure you're using discount gift cards if they're available. I was looking the other day, I can't remember what site it was. I think it may have been Lowe's, but I was looking at some items on Lowe's and I found a discount gift card for 10% off. That's almost unheard of with Lowe's. It was a big gift card. I'd have to spend, $1,200 on it. But if I know that I can spend that money, 10% is huge. Make sure you're getting as good of cash back as you possibly can. You should not figure that into your margins, of course, but getting a little cherry on top is nice. And then if you're using a cashback credit card, you can decide whether or not you want to count that towards your margins or not. But, that can be an easy 1 or 2% extra built right into it. There's so many ways to lower your costs. And try not to pay sales tax as much as absolutely possible, whether that's using a prep center, which, yes, I know costs a little bit of money, but at a certain price point, it's a break even or actually money in your pocket, or find out the sites where you can upload your tax exempt so that you're not paying taxes, like Best Buy, Walmart. There's
Home
a few
Depot,
others out there.
couple. Not
I mean,
many.
what I think is like super, super useful is just for all new sellers, play this back the past 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and write down every single thing, every single tactic that Chris just laid forth. That's called your toolbox of bringing that price point down, and put it on a sheet of paper right next to your monitor. And so anytime you come across a good product that's close, iterate through every single one of those. Are there any discounted gift cards? No. Can I message customer service? They said no. Did I use SalesGazer? No. All those things have the opportunity to bring something from 20 to 17, 20 to 18, 20 to 16. And again, you qualify based on velocity first and worry about the price point at the end, because you have so many levers to pull to get that cheaper.
Yeah, that's the tough.
So I was gonna say, and just Google the product. You never know when it's just going to be cheaper somewhere else. I was for those Nike items that I'm getting ungated with. I found them, I think, at Dick's. I did a quick Google search. I know that I'm not going to make any money on these, but instead of paying $12.99 each item, I paid $8.99 just by finding a different source.
Yep. Yeah, and sometimes it's that simple, right? Small brands, a lot of auto ungate stuff will pretty much only come from one place. Therefore, there's less opportunity, but it's easier to find the opportunity when it does exist, right? Bigger brands are going to come from a variety of different websites, which is more confusing, but also more scalable, more opportunities for one item to be profitable at one place at one time, and such basically. But glad to put you guys on some good back to school game and just Nike Ungate stuff in general. If you guys have any questions, make sure you can, DM me on Twitter, Instagram. Happy to help. And such. And Chris, where can people find you on all the social medias?
My handle is @cleartheshelf everywhere. Twitter's probably the best.
Cool, sweet. All right, appreciate everyone tuning in. We got Garrett back from the honeymoon. Garrett said I told Garrett you can never do that again. Never leave us for no more honeymoons and such. So we'll see you guys.
Good thing that's a one and done situation.
Yes. And we'll see you guys in the future. Thanks a lot for listening. See you guys soon.